Hello everybody, welcome back to the Armchair Ace. Before getting into the meat and potatoes of this video, what I really wanted to talk about, I just wanted to bring up a couple of things. Yes, I did hear about Ace Combat 8. Yes, I am very excited, as most of you are. It's going to be one of my most anticipated games next year. So, very much looking forward to that. And also, I'm finally done with school. Kind of. I still have a few semesters to go before I graduate, but the fall semester is done and I'll be heading back home. I'm very excited to do so because I'll be passing through Nellis Air Force Base. I'll potentially get to see some pretty cool fighter jets leave the area. But that really is only just a little treat on the side compared to what I'm really excited for, and that is seeing my partner after a few months of not being able to see them. Yes, I do have a girlfriend back at base, and I even bought her flowers for Christmas. I hope I didn't jinx myself there. PJ much? Since I'm thinking about them more often, I figured I'd bring up how we've met and my thoughts on the dating scene in general. About 12 years ago, when I was in elementary school, I found myself hanging out with a friend group in my class that consisted of 3 people and myself. One of those people, years later, would become my romantic partner. But before then, I actually left the public school system and started doing homeschool. But before I left, I was able to get their phone number. I would try to and have difficulty with sending texts on my old manky sliding phone, which, saying that's probably going to date me pretty hard, and that gives anyone who's Gen Alpha the incentive to promote me to Unk status. I still actually have that little phone as a novelty, mostly because I just like holding on to old tech, because I think it's pretty cool. I mean, I still have my old PS2 Slim, for God's sakes. That thing still works somehow. But I digress. I got their number and we were able to stay connected. But even though we were apart during school, we eventually started hanging out a bit more outside of the school setting. We started growing closer and more comfortable with each other. We started watching the original Twilight Zone series on Netflix when it was still available to watch. We went to the local pool and the beach together to swim. We started doing origami together. I distinctly remember our first date fairly well. That was when I took them to see Godzilla King of the Monsters at the movie theater. But before we watched it, they took me to, and introduced me to, for the very first time, pho restaurants. I'd never had pho before, but when I had it for the first time, I instantly fell in love with it. If you've never had it, just think of it as Vietnamese ramen, but it's made with rice noodles with bone broth and whatever meat or veggies you want to put in there. You can also have tofu with it. It's one of my favorite foods to eat. Basically, any Vietnamese restaurant is a good choice, regardless of where I eat, because the food always fucking slaps. It's become one of my favorite places to go on a dinner date with my partner, alongside this equally awesome chain restaurant called Coco Ichibanya, and I absolutely rate that place too. We started going to more of these places together, started regularly going on these fun outings, and one thing led to another, and I eventually felt an incentive to put my arm around them. We were sitting on the couch watching TV together, and as soon as I put my arm around them, it was almost as if a literal weight on both of our shoulders was simultaneously lifted, because they fell right into my side. That was over 6 years ago, and I'm happy to report that we're still dating since that day in 2019. This upcoming year will mark our 7th year of being together. Since we'd already been friends for so long and we knew each other fairly well, it was easy to connect. We were able to open up to each other even more and build on that already established connection. And I feel like even though I've learned everything there is to know about my partner and it feels like we ran out of things to talk about, we can still make conversation about some of the most ridiculous things that we can think of. Like, we could be on a really nice outing, like a dinner date to Coco or something, and we could be talking very sweetly to each other, and then we could all of a sudden transition to talking about that goddamn 6-7 meme and why it's such a big thing in the same minute. And yes, that is actually a real conversation we've had. I didn't even bring that up as a joke. And the reason why we're able to talk about all these things and not even bat an eye about it, according to them and just quoting them verbatim, it's because we are philosophers. I'm not gonna drop your name, don't worry, just for the sake of privacy, but I know you're watching, and I just wanted to say thank you very much for your input. All of you probably have someone like my partner in your life, where you've pretty much known them throughout a majority of your childhood or something like that. Of course, that doesn't mean that you're gonna end up dating that person by default. Maybe you'll meet someone new in your years of adulthood, whether it's through some religious gathering or general social event or by any other means. I know that some people watching might be trying to look for that special someone to get together with. Now, I do have to give this disclaimer. Despite all of these years of experience of dating my partner, I can confidently say that I am not a professional in my craft, so don't take everything that I say here in this video and later on down the line to heart. Mostly because it probably isn't going to work for you 100% of the time. Regardless, I will provide my 2 cents. Patience is vital in all respects. It doesn't matter whether you're looking for someone new or you're trying to make a deeper connection with someone you already know. The preferred pace in gearing up to form a relationship with someone is a case-to-case basis. You might be ready for it, but the person of interest might not be ready for it. And, of course, that's vice versa too. But in time, opportunities will definitely present themselves for both of you. As someone who's relatively well versed with some of the attitudes and trends that have developed from the toxicity of social media, I do have something else to say, and that is, for the love of God, please be genuine. I cannot tell you how many things I've seen on the internet that are made to make you think that you need to be better than someone else or compete with someone else, because a lot of the stuff that you hear about online is really subjective. I've seen my fair share of a bunch of these really ridiculous alpha male channels and looks maxing trends that you've probably seen on TikTok or, whatever the hell. And all of it just has this sameness to it. It's all so saturated, and it's so general, and it's just so not interesting at all. All of these trends and accounts you see online are a dime a dozen. And you aren't. Because there's gonna be something about you that stands out to that eventual person of interest. If that thing about yourself makes you happy too, then you probably don't have to change it. Because it simply works, and it makes you unique to that other person. If it's a healthy thing to be happy about, then you don't have to change that part about yourself. I'd say the only time you'd have to make a life change is when you and the person of interest that you decide to date both agree that a change for the better is a good direction. If you're both in a good place, you probably won't have to change too much. I feel like I've been in my own relationship long enough to feel like that I'm comfortable in my own skin, and so are they, and no big life changes are necessary at the moment. However, if there is something going on that might harm one or both parties in the relationship, or multiple people if it's polyamorous, definitely coordinate with each other and take whatever measures are needed at that moment. Be honest with yourself and to all parties involved. Be open to take suggestions and take steps to change if it's truly necessary. The last thing I want you to experience is an unhealthy relationship that's detrimental to you or anyone else that's involved. That's all I can really think of for right now, and I hope that this is helpful to at least one person listening, if you're in that position. I know I said that I'd be giving you my 2 cents on my thoughts on all this, but it feels like I gave you $2. I ended up saying a lot more than I initially thought I was going to say. Wasn't really sure how deep I was going to go with this, but you know, that's how it goes, I suppose. I do hope that it was at the very least interesting to hear my own perspective on the dating scene. There's plenty more that I'll probably expand on, but that's gotta come on a later date because I am drained from school and I gotta get ready to go home. I will say one last thing before signing off, and that is, I'm really excited to be back home to celebrate Christmas with my partner. And it's like I said before, I know you're probably watching still. I'm excited for you to see what gifts I got for you for Christmas. None of which will be listed here. No spoilers. No cheating allowed. You'll have to wait one more week to find out what I got you. But anyways, that'll about wrap it up here. Hope you guys found this informative. Thank you for listening, and I'll see you soon.